Hi, Biggie. We're back.
Back at the Mecca. My buddy here, Silvio. And today we're going to do some chest training for you guys. We haven't done chest yet. Going to use a few cool techniques today. Going to kind of mix it up, doing some slow negative work for heavyweight, lower reps. We're going to do some drop sets. We're going to do supersets. So we're going to kind of mix it all together and give you different techniques so that you can make sure to really blast your chest, give your chest something different that maybe you haven't been doing, and just give your kind of hit different pathways to growth. So we're going to do that today with Silvio, kill it, and then we're going to have Ask Merlin at the end of the show. So I hope that we can give you guys some good information, some good training, and hope you enjoyed the show.
Silvio, you talked to me for a second yesterday. You actually, off camera, you actually posed for us. So it's been like, how many weeks? 4 or 5 weeks now? You've been training with us, about 4 or 5 weeks. And I have to say, man, you look really big yesterday and not fat at all. So what did you think about your progress yesterday? Were you happy with what you saw?
You know, I'm not really saying that happy is the word I will use, because we had a mission before we start, the process we are doing now. It's work in progress. And if I would say I'm satisfied with it now, that means it's like we've done the job. But I'm okay with what is going on, and then we expect more to come.
Yeah, I'm happy so far. Yeah.
It is what we were planning, and it's stage by stage, and it's taking to the next level, and we are doing it.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, and the work is really giving a result. So
I think a lot of people are impressed because there's a lot of people looking at you.
Yes.
You notice when you train.
Yeah. When I'm training, cool. they are taking note. They know. They see the changes. They see the differences.
Yeah.
They see the size coming in.
That's nice.
So I'm happy that they know that I'm not playing. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'm coming in. So I really thank the support of Coach Eric and yourself, Dave, for really, believing in me and then pushing me on, because that's the push I needed for the support to step up the game and come back to who I was before and even more.
Well, it's a pleasure to train with you every day, man. And we're going to do some chest and talk some more to Eric a little bit after. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so the first exercise we're doing for chest today is actually a Smith slight decline press. You can't see it, but I actually have a 25-pound plate under the front of the bench just to give it a slight decline. We're really working the lower pec line here, which is very important for Silvio as he's entering his shows this year. As you can see, he's lowering the weight over about 4 full seconds, almost 5, touching his chest, and then he's exploding to the top using all the power of his pecs, keeping a very, very long time under tension with these long negatives. And we're just looking to build more mass and size into his chest because he has very, very big shoulders and very, very big arms. We got to even everything out. Come on, Sil. Okay, the second exercise on our chest program today, we're using the Incline press machine, one of our favorites here. We're using a closer grip with the palms facing each other. We're actually targeting sort of the middle portion of the chest so we can get that squeeze at the top. Feels a little bit different than when you put your hands out wide. We're actually doing a drop set here. So what we're doing is what I call a heavy light drop set. So we're moving the weight nice and slow, using a nice heavy weight for the first portion of the set, keeping the repetitions around 8 to 12, moving the negatives in about 3 seconds, and then we're actually dropping the weight exactly in half. So you had about 210 on to begin, we're dropping it to 105, and now you can see he's going to move the weight really quick, keeping the tension constant, not stopping anywhere at the top or the bottom, just moving like a piston. So this change in speed of repetitions and the weight just gives the muscle a tremendous pump, a tremendous burn, and it forces the muscle to grow by hitting it there's 2 different ways. Give this one a shot in your workouts. Okay guys, for the next exercise we're using a seated chest press. This one's kind of cool because it actually brings the weight down lower by your sides, and as you press up, it actually sort of goes like an incline press. So it has a really unique feeling. Now what he's doing here again is we're going back to those very, very slow negatives of about 4 to 5 seconds, reaching full stretch and then exploding to the top to get those fast twitch fibers. But again, on the way down, using those negatives to damage the fibers, which will then have to be repaired for muscle growth. So in this training routine today, we're kind of going a heavy versus pump style in the second movement. Then we go heavy again. Then you'll see on the last exercise, again, we'll be going for maximum pump. This one is another great one for building the chest. Those negatives is one of the most effective ways to affect hypertrophy. Okay guys, the final movement for chest actually is going to be a superset. Again, we're finishing off with something that's going to give them a massive pump. Now this is really a terrific superset, because what we're doing is we're doing actually 2 fly movements. The first one, as you can see, is a flat dumbbell fly, which is doing under excellent control, bringing the weights all the way down to full stretch, holding that stretch for about a second or so. And I really encourage him to kind of raise up that rib cage and really open up the chest. We really want to stretch those chest fibers on each rep. By stretching fibers under tension like he's doing here, that's another tremendous signal for igniting muscle hypertrophy, because it really damages the muscle fibers. So like I said, the first set here is a regular incline fly focusing on the stretch. Now we're going to a standing fly using cables, where he's actually going to bring the weight up, or the handles up, from a low position. As you'll see, he'll bring them up under the chin. So he's coming sort of at an angle, which is going to activate the upper chest fibers. Now we're not really focusing as much on the stretch, because we just did that with the first movement. Now we're focusing on the contraction. So if you guys do this in your workouts, you'll find this is an amazing superset. The burn is incredible. You should get very sore the next day, because what we're doing, again, first we're opening up the chest, stretching it really deep, and then we're going for a maximum contraction on the second movement. These are 2 different ways of hitting the chest and hitting unique pathways to muscle growth. Combined, they're absolutely awesome. And again, he's doing it under full control. We're moving the reps slowly. Give this a try in your workouts if you want some massive chest pumps.
All right, Biggie. It's a little chilly today. I hope the questions are short.
Yeah, but people are gonna laugh at you because they have like sub-zero temperatures and snow on the ground, and what is it, like maybe 55, 60
I know.
here?
We're spoiled.
Yeah, kind of spoiled, dude. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, a couple of questions. First question I thought was pretty good was, what is the ideal amount of weight for a natural athlete to put on during, off-season, growth season, so that focus can be placed on the majority, being muscle gain and not fat, and in preparation for a contest. So basically, very simply, kind of made it complicated. So lean muscle mass is basically what he's saying. What's a good amount to put on, forgetting about the bulking up stuff, putting on a whole bunch of fat. Well, first of all, there's 2 things. How long of a growth season are you taking? It could be a year for some people. For some people, it could be 4 months. So it really depends on what your contest schedule is. That's the first thing. So, let's just break it down by months and do it that way and say, if you're a natural, non-enhanced athlete, which basically just means you're not using SARMs, you're not using anabolics, the only things you're using are basically, creatine, amino acids, those types of things that you could buy at any GNC. I would say that, obviously, again, this is going to also vary because everybody has different genetics. Some people put on muscle very easily, some people don't. Some people are natural ectomorphs, some are mesomorphs, endomorphs. Each of these body types put on muscle differently. Your age, also, are you a 21-year-old guy, are you a 41-year-old person? There's so many variables. But I think that for most people, just we're going to make a blanket statement. If you can make your goal to put on 2 pounds of muscle a month, I think that's a really good goal, which is really just a half a pound a week. So if you figure, if you're doing a 6 months off-season, growth season, progress season, whatever you want to call it, and you're putting 2 pounds a month, if you can gain 12 pounds, that's a tremendous amount of muscle to gain. May not be possible if you've been training for 30 years, but it's very possible if you're more of a beginner, intermediate, to put on that kind of muscle. But the whole point is that to never try to put on scale weight for the sake of scale weight, because if you do that and you get caught up in that, you're probably putting on too much fat. So always look to keep yourself within a few percentage body fat. Let's say if you compete somewhere around 6%, Try not to go over about 10%. Then you're probably putting on pretty good lean muscle tissue. You won't have so much trouble dieting down for a show. If you push your body fat up to 15-20%, then of course you put on too much fat. The scale may be way up there, but that's not going to really help you before a show, because you have to diet so hard, do so much cardio, you're probably going to burn off most of what you gain. So like I said, very hard to put a blanket statement for everybody because there's so many variables. But I think if you think in terms of a half a pound a week or about 2 pounds a month, you're definitely on the right track and gaining a really good solid amount of body weight during the off season.
Good question.
Okay, so next question I got, I thought was kind of interesting. I've never really been asked this before. So somebody said, Eric, obviously you train a ton of athletes. When you're getting a pro bodybuilder or a pro IFBB Pro, no matter what it is, what division, ready for a competition, or you're handling their prep or their off season, is that intimidating to you in any way, shape, or form versus the more regular client, is basically what they're saying. It's a pretty funny question, because I mean, you know, I think that I understand where it comes from, because, you know, you feel like when you're working with a pro, you have more pressure on you because their placings can reflect back on you, which is really kind of, in a way, a lot of times an unfair assessment. And this is something I learned a long time ago, because the only job you have as a coach, and I think more professionals particularly need to understand this, you have no control over their placings. You know, the only job you have is to make them better than they ever were before. So even if they placed, you know, let's just say they're doing, I don't know, let's throw it out there, say the Arnold Classic, and they placed 4th, you know, one year, and then you handle their prep for the following year, and they look better than they did the year before, but their placing goes down. Maybe it just means that there was more competition in the show, or it was a more difficult lineup. So that can't reflect back on you, because it's not your fault where they placed. You could only do your job. So in one sense, that used to intimidate me, because I used to think about that stuff, but I don't really think about it anymore, because I've come to that realization. You have no control, and this goes for NPC or any athlete. It doesn't really matter. You have no control of placings, so your only job is to make them better than they ever were. If you didn't make them better than they ever were, then you really haven't done your job. And then I think from the other perspective, you may be thinking is that, you know, because there's probably more people with their eyes on you. Obviously, nobody knows if you're training Bob Smith and they're, you know, just a regular guy who works a job, versus somebody who's on Instagram and on YouTube and, you know, training for shows, and, you know, sometimes gets a lot of press, you know, so there's more eyes on you. And I think in the beginning, like the first pro that I ever trained, maybe there was a little bit of pressure on me. I felt like, oh man, like I really got to do such a great job, you know, otherwise I'm going to be, but that really kind of left me pretty quickly, because if you're confident in what you do, if you're confident in your training methods, if you're confident in your methods of dieting people, and confident in yourself, then there's really no reason to be intimidated by any of it. If you're not sure of yourself, then you're not sure of yourself, and then you're gonna be intimidated. So, you know, I've been doing this for a very long time. I am confident in myself. I know that the things that I do work. I have a good track record. I have a lot of respect in the industry, which I'm blessed with. And now I have a lot of pros who are coming to me one by one, watching what I do, and you know, wanting, you know, seeing other results and coming to me. So no, I don't really get intimidated at all. I really want them to do well. Obviously, I want to have, you know, everybody win pro shows, you know, more notoriety and all that stuff. It's all great, but the truth of the matter is that all of the clients that I have hold equal importance to me. They're all priorities. I don't prioritize, you know, Silvio Samuel over somebody else because as a housewife, I want everybody to make progress. Everybody is, you know, spending hard-earned money, and everybody's important to me. So to me, all my clients are important. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do. So the only pressure I have is I put pressure on myself to succeed, because I want everybody else to succeed. And that doesn't matter whether they're not a bodybuilder at all, not a competitor, whether they're NPC or whether they're pro. So That's the way I handle it, and that's the way I feel about it.
All right, awesome.